Red 2 standing by, all for lit and in the green. Welcome back to Star Wars Episode 1 Racer as we finally wind up the project. For today, we will actually be having 3 races involved. We have SlideParameter, Toy Dampner and Bullseye Navior, whose main appearances actually come in this game. They didn't get to appear in the movie, concepts were planned, but they never really got anywhere. However, it's time for them to shine and we will see just how capable they are. I'm fairly confident in their skills, but can we find a challenger for Never Key in the very last episode? Let's get on to finding out about SlideParameter and see what we can do. SlideParameter was a Siasi from an unknown planet and a highly skilled pod racer with something of an elitist attitude. He despised large and bulky pod races, using his small and agile Stinger 627S to maneuver through tight turns with great ease. Parameter was well known for his precision and well-timed boosts to allow him to effortlessly slip past opponents. However, he was also prone to losing concentration and lashing out violently if his opponents overtook him too much. Parameter also excelled at ice racing and was extremely skilled on the tracks of the icy Ando-Prime. He made a major name for himself at the difficult and non-linear Ando-Prime Centrum, finding the best routes through the multiple paths of ice caves and city streets. Not much more is known about him, but it appears that Parameter was intended to appear in Episode 1. Tund was supposed to be his homeworld, but it became Ben Quaternero's homeworld instead. Parameter's final design was also given the name Team Topagalis for a while Parameter himself had a very different and ultimately unused design. While the species name Siasi first appeared in a non-canon blog, it was made canon in the complete Star Wars encyclopedia. Now we're getting into some racers who didn't make it into the movie. SlideParameter's pod racer is a Pisa Errol Stinger 627S. It sports a sleek and swift yet fairly fragile design. Its agility is a great help in many tracks and it also boasts a useful repair and cooling system. According to the game, or at least the information listed on Wikipedia, it has a top speed of 844 miles an hour, which we presume is its maximum speed while boosting. We can see that the pod doesn't have great top speed, but it has good brakes, cooling, and repair. This is fairly consistent with Parameter's tendency to slip past his opponents, hit the boosters at just the right time to win races. Pretty good traction, turning, and acceleration, so if you can complete the amateur pod racing circuit and complete Ando-Prime Centrum, you've got a pretty good racer on base stats. Let's see what it's like once we really get some mojo into this vehicle. Traction will hold up fairly well, not outstanding, pretty much hitting our standard benchmark. Though apparently the pod racer did do pretty well on ice racing. When it comes to handling, Parameter will again get maybe a little over that benchmark we've seen. He'll do quite well, all things considered. Acceleration will jump to a bit over that sort of halfway mark. It'll be decent. Not outstanding, but decent. When it comes to top speed, though, he's probably on the lower end of the scale, but it's nonetheless still pretty capable. The agility is the key element of this craft, but it can hit the brakes very well. And its cooling systems will actually hit top for once. So you can boost and this thing will cool down, ready to go. And as far as repair goes, it will actually hit top with a rotary power plug. Parameter knows his vehicle's fragile, so he will keep that in very good nick. If you're looking for something with agility and some pretty good supporting stats, you really can't go wrong with this one. After a comparatively rocky start, it looks like SlideParameter has proved those skills are for real. There are some very impressive times along the way. That fast and agile pod racer has performed very well, being able to slip through the turns and post some very, very impressive times that are pushing towards the top of the lap table. So, we can see that the fastest time SlideParameter posted is 1:59.948. It's a very impressive time, just squeaking under the 2-minute barrier and slotting him into second place behind Never Key. That was a very impressive time. He was knocking on the door of breaking that 2-minute mark and managed to do so. We shall see how well Toy Dampner holds up as our next competitor. While Toy Dampner is noted as an accomplished pod racer, we do not know very much about his racing career. In fact, he is even from a currently unidentified species, much like Fudd Sang. He was very skilled on the racetracks of Uvo 4. While Dampner was not an inmate, he actually had several friends on the inside and raced to entertain them as well as the crowds. His best circuit was the difficult and dangerous Executioner course. Interestingly, Toy Dampner was actually meant to appear in the movie. He did make it to Episode 1's animatic sequences, but his role was cut and actually given to Clegg Holdfast. It was mentioned in a revised rough draft of the script that Dampner hailed from the planet New Cov, but the canonicity of this would ultimately be in doubt since he doesn't really appear in the movie. The only source we have had for information on Dampner and his pod racer has been from Episode 1 Racer's Strategy Guide, so it's actually entirely possible we may know more about Dampner's pod than the being himself, which is a little unusual. Toy Dampner's pod racer is a Turka 910 Special. It was customised somewhat by Dampner himself. It sported solid traction, a good repair system and capable acceleration, although its top speed was originally not considered fantastic. According to Wikipedia, Dampner did modify his racer so that it could hit a top speed of 985 kilometers per hour. This is presumably sometime after the Boonta Classic era. The poor cooling systems, at least according to Wikipedia, made it somewhat risky to boost, even though it was quite capable when it came to that. Some sources may provide slightly different information, as I've mentioned, because as we can see, while its top speed is not great, Toy Dampner's base stats are phenomenal. Let's see if he matches up to that when he winds up upgrading it, but we've got a pretty good pod on bases alone here. Will it hold up? Of course, we have to see what happens. Of course, as we can tell, there is actually fairly decent traction along the way, a bit above the benchmark. When it comes to handling, it will jump out to that mark we've seen along the way. Acceleration, it will do pretty decently at. Probably around one of the higher ends, I'm not entirely sure. When it comes to its top speed, it's obviously pre-modification because it's just missing out on top with the Block 5. But still do fairly well. When it comes to braking, just under top with the Mark 5, hits it with a tri-jet, so if you need to stop on a dime, Dampner's your sentient. Cooling systems will jump up very high, not quite as good as SlideParameters, but still very capable. As I said, there are some conflicting sources about the efficiency, and we can see there's great cooling there. And on top of that, Dampner will have very good repair, just under top with the Cluster 2. So really, you can't go, apart from maybe slightly low top speed, you honestly cannot go wrong with Toy Dampner. He's going to be one of the best in the game once you get him upgraded. Well, it looks like SlideParameter and Toy Dampner shared the same tactic. Get a feel for the track, then really put your foot down and unleash your best. Toy Dampner actually had some pretty good times after that initial lap. They were all pretty close together and pushing towards the top of the lap board. So we can see that the best time Toy Dampner put in was very impressive indeed, coming in at 2 minutes 0.799 seconds, enough to put him into 5th place. A very respectable finish indeed, just in between Odie Mandrell and Juan Sandich. As you can see, Toy Dampner is obviously one of the better performers. It might take a bit of time to unlock Dampner, but once you do, you have a gem on your hands. Rounding things out though is Bullseye Navior. Worth noting, I am not covering the cheat-based characters Sai Yunga and Jin Riso because they're pretty much Mars Guo and Bullseye Navior as far as I know. They were unfortunately cut from the game. Maybe I can do them at a later date, who knows. But for now, let's move on to our last racer. Unfortunately, like the 2 racers that precede him in the list, not a lot is known about Bullseye Navior. I think they pronounce it Navoir in the game. He earned his nickname due to the distinct design of his eyes, with his other notable trait being his brown-white fur. There is actually no record of the species to which he belongs. As far as personality goes, we do know that Bullseye was well known for his sense of honour and fair play. His vehicle was not large enough to hide weapons, but its agility and excellent overall performance meant that he could get ahead with a mix of his skills and his vehicle's capabilities. While he was initially somewhat obscure despite his skills, Bullseye eventually made quite a name for himself in the Outer Rim territories, where he earned track favourite status on Aqualaris' Sunken City course. Apart from this, we really don't know very much about him, and that's actually a bit annoying since it means this section is rather short. Oh well, at least this one's the last profile I have to read because I've been recording these all at once. My throat probably hurts by now. Anyway, we can get on to the last of the hot laps. Bullseye Navior's Iratech RQ 550C Dart pod racer was renowned for its agility and acceleration. Its small size discouraged dirty tactics, especially since it was rather fragile. This, however, suited its owner just fine. That fragility did mean that the agility would be put to the test during dangerous races, but it was more than capable of pulling that off with aplomb. It was not overly fast, but did well enough. Like Toy Dampner and SlideParameter, the actual stats of Bullseye's craft are unknown, at least as far as length and listed top speed go. As we can see, Bullseye's another gem, fantastic traction right out of the gate, solid turning, good acceleration, top speed is a little bit low, but air brake, cooling and repair are all great on base alone. So, does he hold up? Let's see what he's packing. So we can actually get a very good jump with traction, and he'll be just under top with the R600. As far as handling goes, Bullseye will be slightly above average. He will handle particularly well. Acceleration will be a bit above average, holding up quite reasonably all things considered. Top speed is, as they said, a little low, but that's not too bad. Everyone hits top with a Block 6 anyway. Air brakes are spectacular, hitting top with a Trijet. Cooling systems will build up particularly well, round about the same level as Toy Dampner just before him. And as for repair, Bullseye's hitting top with the Cluster 2, so with maybe a little bit lacking in top speed, but nonetheless, this small and agile craft is one of the best racers out there. So there we have it. We have completed 92 hot laps, 4 for each racer, not counting the times where I accidentally managed to blow myself up. It's been fairly exhaustive testing trying to get all this sorted out, and maybe things would be different on another track, who knows. But we have compiled all the results, and Bullseye Navior has actually put in some very consistent times on his home track, all around that 2-minute mark, and a couple do actually skirt under the radar, with Bullseye's best time coming in at 1 minute 50 9.695, less than a second outside Neverkey's time, and securing second place on that lap board. A very impressive performance from a very impressive racer whose excellent agility and small size could see you through a lot of races. So to wrap things up, our lap board still has Neverkey sitting at the top, and I do apologize if it looks like things are biased. It was the reason I started doing things again, because I thought some racers didn't get a better run, and I wanted to make absolutely sure I wasn't trying that bit harder with Neverkey. Don't want to be too biased given he is my favourite racer. Bullseye Navior and SlideParameter round out the top 3 with times under 2 minutes. Surprisingly, Bumpy Ruse hits 4th spot, Wan Sandage with a very respectable 5th, Toy Dampner just behind, and Odie Mandrell as well. Ibby Endicott holds down 8th place, Clegg Holdfast is 9th, not too bad for a journalist. Team Toe Pagali's at 10th, Bozzy Baranta 11th, around about the middle of the pack, Mars Guo bang on the middle in 12th spot. Ben Quaterneros just ahead of Anakin Skywalker. Anakin in 14th place, surprising given that his pod is said to be the fastest going around, according to the expanded universe. Boz Raw and Fudd Sang, a Glimmick singer and a convict, and then poor old Rats Tyrell winds up in 17th place. He wasn't too bad, but, well, at least he got to survive to finish some laps this time around, poor guy. Gasgano definitely does not live up to his reputation. Dud Bolt probably lives down to his. Mahonic, not too great. Elan Mac, not very good. Old Arbido and Sebulba, surprisingly poor. Sebulba was the really odd one. I would probably have to try him out on tracks with straightaways. Maybe it's the boosters that help him out. But for some reason, our champion did really, really badly and came right at the bottom of the pack. But that's pretty much it for Episode 1 Racer. It's been an amazing adventure. It's been incredible fun putting all this together, even if it has been a bit fiddly editing everything. I sincerely hope you have enjoyed it all. Thank you very much for joining me on this little project. Until the next one, this is Red 2 returning to base. May the Force be with you.